welcome to Retrospective TV, and today I will be doing a spoiler-free Resident Evil 3 Remake review. This review is on my own personal opinion, which many of you may disagree with. I totally understand. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Resident Evil 3, a game released in 1999 that was highly rated and highly loved by all Resident Evil fans. Even people that weren't Resident Evil fans. Many called it the second best in the series, as some also called it one of the worst games. Some called it too action-packed, some called it a washed-down Resident Evil 2. Well, in 2020 we got a remake where we take back the control of Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira, and it's pretty amazing as we're going through the streets of Raccoon City that is now a wasteland at this point in the story. We're also being chased by the big creature / monster named Nemesis. If the zombie-filled streets weren't enough already, Nemesis is a way bigger problem, not only in size, but in strength. He follows you wherever you go, every interior, except for safe rooms. So now, in this review, I will go over the certain aspects of the game: story, horror, action, difficulty, characters, and replay value, and also the map. Now let's start off with the map and story. The map was way big. It was almost all of downtown Raccoon City. Some places were blocked off, but it was very immersive. I could spend hours just looking at the map, which I did, and it's very detailed. As you look at some games, like let's say the Call of Duty series, a lot of it isn't totally detailed. There's a lot of textures that just had no effort. But Resident Evil 3, every single texture in the game, every item, even if it's not grabbable, was still detailed. Of course, when you play this on the PlayStation 4, it does make your console sound like it wants to die, which is understandable because it's a big game. But the map is so huge, a big portion of it happens within downtown Raccoon City, and everywhere you go through, there is so many interiors. You have the Raccoon City Hospital, a small portion of the Raccoon City Police Department. You have the subway station, the sewers, and also an Umbrella underground facility, which is way awesome and is pretty scary with all the zombie-filled like hallways and everything like that. And of course, you don't want to forget about Jill's apartment, which you start the game off there, and I think that is the perfect way to start it off because it lets you know that you are in the game, basically. It's just a cool way to start off the game. Every interior has its own enemies, basically, and a lot of the enemies in the interiors are pretty scary, and a lot of enemies come out of nowhere or hiding around corners, and it gives it a real 1990s Resident Evil feel, because in the original games, you didn't know what was around the corner. Out of all the interiors and all the places in the Resident Evil 3 Remake map, my favorite place is downtown Raccoon City when you very first start off the game. It's just so big and it makes you feel like you know Raccoon City more, and it's pretty awesome. I personally would rate the map a 10 out of 10. Even though I do wish there was more streets on the map, it was very immersive and it did a very good job for the engine that it was ran on, and there wasn't really much you could have done with it else, like anything else you could have done with it. Now, let's get to the story. The story was absolutely amazing. Every aspect of this story was great. The boss battles, the relationship you build with allies and characters throughout the way, and the enemies you make. As you go through the game, it does get a little bit easier, but it gets more tense. Some of you may not understand what I mean by that, that's totally fine. But what I do mean, and I'll try to put this into words, is the story isn't tense in like a scary way. It's tense in like, oh, this character's about to die, or I have to save this character, stuff like that. The boss battles do get easier the farther you go into the game, because two of the biggest boss battles are exactly alike, and Nemesis does the exact same thing in both of them. So if you beat the first boss battle, you're guaranteed to beat the second, which the second one was way easier anyways, because you get to learn his moves and all of his, like, dodges and swipes and everything he does to you. The horror aspect in this game is absolutely amazing considering how much action there is. The action in the game, it was super fast. You would go from gameplay to cutscene to gameplay to cutscene to gameplay to cutscene super quickly and super smoothly, and then you had quick time events, which I usually hate, and I think that ruins a game. But in this game, it made it so awesome, because then in the cutscenes you got to do something, which was really awesome. It had a action aspect of like Resident Evil 6, which usually people would be like, ooh, that was a bad game, but it did it well in Resident Evil 3 Remake. It's like if you took everything good from Resident Evil 6, which there wasn't much in Resident Evil 6 that was good, and put it with Resident Evil 2's horror, it just made it amazing. The horror in it, like I was gonna say, is absolutely amazing because you don't know what's around every corner, and you also don't really know, like, where each boss is gonna come in, or when the boss battles are gonna come in, or where Nemesis is gonna pop out of nowhere. And there's a lot of zombies on the ground that you can't kill when you first see them, then all of a sudden you come back and they're alive. It's really cool. I would give the horror a 9 out of 10 and the action a 9 out of 10, but I would give the difficulty in this game an 8 out of 10. It was really hard in the beginning, but at the end it just got really easy for me personally. If you guys play it, you might see something different. Now let's get to the characters. Let's start off with Nemesis. Nothing more to say than he's big and he's scary. Not only in size, but like I said, in strength. He will rip you apart at any time and throughout the game if you encounter him. I feel like there's a lack of Nemesis in the game. He didn't really come around as much as I would have liked him to do, as I just started that sentence, but he was very lacking in the game. There's a lot of gameplay where he was not even existent. Now let's get to Jill Valentine. What else to say than she's more badass and sexier than ever. When they first announced that Julia Voth was not going to be the character model for Jill Valentine, I was a little bit disappointed, but I quickly realized that that was the best decision that they have made. The new Jill very much fits the Resident Evil tone, and she's just way better in this game. Carlos, a UBCS member who helps Jill along the way, even though Jill doesn't trust her at the beginning, or trust him at the beginning. He's a very great character. I usually don't like playing as male characters because most of them are just the same thing over and over again. But he reminds me of Chris from Resident Evil 5, just way better, and everything good from like Leon's part in Resident Evil 2 kind of transforms into Carlos's character, and there are parts where if you didn't have Carlos there, it would be game over. But when you play as Carlos, it really makes the tension go up because you don't know what's going to happen to Jill when you're not playing as her. So it does make it a lot more tense in that aspect. Now let's get to Nikolai. He is basically one of the main antagonists of the game. He's like Nemesis' little brother, but in human form. He's kind of like the doctor in Resident Evil Apocalypse that makes Alice fight Nemesis, which that scene in that movie ruined Nemesis for me for a while just because of the fact that he fist fought Alice, which was really dumb. But there's nothing to say about Nikolai other than he sucked. He was a good character as an antagonist, but nobody's gonna like him if you play the game. No one. I would give the characters in this game a perfect 10 out of 10 from every single level because it was just like the remake, but anything that you could have thought of for a character happened. Now let's get to the replay value. There's really no replay value in this game at all. It really wasn't there. After you beat your first playthrough, you unlock like a shop thing in the bonuses menu, and you can just buy like items for your next playthrough, or you can buy Jill's original outfit from the first game, not from the original Resident Evil 3, because you have to get that for the pre-order, which I did. But there's really no replay value. There's a lot of cool items that you can buy with the points that you earn, and there's like coins and stuff that make you like regenerate health or make you not lose as much health, which are really cool, and you can buy weapons too. So that's a good replay value, but the biggest part of the replay value is just playing it over to speedrun to get a better grade at the end of your runs, which I'm doing a speedrun right now after I do this video, and the game's pretty fun to speedrun. It's really easy to speedrun too, considering that there's a dodge mechanic, and as soon as you get it down, the game is way easy. Overall, I'll give this game a solid 9.5 out of 10. The reason I don't give it a solid 10 is just because of the replay value and some of the like difficulty aspects. I wish the game was harder, because the game was way easy when I went through it the first time. I died I think 5 times, and that's only because the boss battles I was just doing it to see how Nemesis's like attacks were and what he does in his sequences. A lot of the time he will combo hit you, which really sucks, but it's fun. But as a Resident Evil game, I would rate this a 10 out of 10, like a solid 10, and I am willing to say that this remake is the best Resident Evil game yet. And I know a lot of Resident Evil fans are going to disagree and be like, hey, Resident Evil 2 was better, which I thought that for a while until I played this remake. This remake blows Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 Remake out of the water. I think one reason I like this is because the action aspect of the game was really there. It was so fast that it makes Eminem's Godzilla lyrics look slow, but it also kept the horror in the game, so it was just really put together well. So I hope you guys like this video, and I would recommend everybody to play this remake. Everybody. If you play video games and you don't even like zombie games or horror games, you should still play it because it has a really good story. So please subscribe and like, and hit the bell to stay up to date with all Resident Evil updates and news. And thank you for watching.